Next on MLR Weekly, NOLA Gold head coach Cory Brown, Army flanker turned MLR hooker Koi Nelligan, John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning with Major League Rugby headlines and updates, and Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News with opinion and perceptions. Rugby Wrap-Ups MLR Weekly brought to you by Sheehy Auto Stores. It's easy at Sheehy. The Pig and Whistle, New York City, the world's best rugby pub. And Lean and Limber, stretching your way to a healthier lifestyle. Welcome to MLR Weekly as presented by Rugby Wrap-Up. Matt McCarthy in New York City. Thanks for joining us again. I know some of you are still hungover from your holiday weekend last week in the United States, but we got a big show this week. I know there's no MLR, but there's MLR players that are performing in the international test matches. That's easy for me to say. So we have a great show. We also have Cory Brown, the head coach of the NOLA Gold. We have Koi Nelligan, the up-and-coming star at hooker, West Point grad from Old Glory, D.C. We have Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News. Let's go to our recap. Oh, no, we don't have a recap this week. Let's just go to Rugby Morning's coffee break with John Fitzpatrick. John, no MLR really, but we got MLR players. And what do you got for us?
Hey, Matt, Sheehy Auto used car sales lot called. They want their jacket back.
Next.
Hey, how about a roller coaster of emotions for the USA Men's 15s program over the 4th of July weekend? We got to start
what's the roller coaster? They should be absolutely devastated if we're talking about the 15s program.
Well, let's start with the men's Eagles, of course. Their first home match since 2022. Matt, they lost to Romania 20-22. Come on, what do you make of that?
The only cool thing that came out of that was Rob Iramuscu's mullet. Rob, of course, who's an American playing for Romania based on his parents. Xavier guy, Penn State guy, love him, and I love the mullet. But that's the only thing that was good about the weekend. It is something that needs to be forgotten immediately, but remembered simultaneously. Awful. But what do you think?
Yeah, Matt, no way to sugarcoat it. That was not a good test match. But hey, how about 3 cheers to test debut for Seattle Seawolves scrum half J.P. Smith? What do you think of his performance?
I thought it was okay. I thought maybe, he can exert himself physically a little bit more. I'm not knocking his choices. I'm saying he's a big dude. And maybe, that Romanian scrum half, he could have run over a few times earlier in the game and kept them from kicking successfully for posts. But that's a bird's eye view. That's from way up top. I'm not that far down on the ground. I don't know what I'm talking about in essence, is what I'm saying. That's just my feeling. Next.
Well, a couple more flowers we have to give out here. Of course, OGDC flanker Jamison Fonda-Schultz. He scored for the men's Eagles. They returned to action on Friday in D.C. when they host Scotland, who, Matt, I don't know if you saw that scoreline. They dropped a huge number on Canada. You checked in on your boy Bryan Ray recently? Is he doing okay?
Oh, well, listen, that scoreline was kind of expected, right? And almost respectable. And I'm wondering what's worse, getting beaten badly by Scotland or losing at home in Chicago to Romania. What's worse? And that's a hypothetical question. You don't have to answer that. You can tell I'm worked up because I just rewatched the game, and I'm scratching my head. I know there's no continuity whatsoever, and that's the excuse that they can use, legitimate excuse. They don't have any continuity because they were in camp for 3 days, and I think you got to protect the ball. I mean, that's number one. You can't be throwing the ball away. You can't throw it around. Forget the fancy passes, and keep the ball, and use your talent that way. That's, again, bird's eye view, not a coach. So most of you will say, I don't know what I'm talking about. You're probably right. What else?
Matt, you're getting worked up. Your head's getting a little
I'm really worked up. I am fired up, worked up, and jacked up all at the same time. Go ahead.
Well, speaking of heating up, how about the USA Men's U20 squad? They're 2-0 in the U20 trophy. And Matt, get this. they could advance to the finals if they beat Kenya on Friday, and they would potentially take on the winner of Scotland versus Japan. So the next batch of young men's Eagles are looking pretty good in this international competition. What do you make of that?
That's good news. That's great news. And that's what we need to do. We need to get the pool expanded by younger players playing rugby. Next.
Well, Matt, I mean, we got to keep going. We talked about the roller coaster. How about let's continue down the pathway? The USA men's U18, they're touring South America this week. You've got the USA women's U20 squad. They're playing Canada on Sunday. And Matt, all of this, we got to talk about this real quickly, at least on the USA men's 15 side. Moonshot 2031, which Scott Lawrence put out just a few days ago. Matt, get this. The goal is to win a quarterfinal at the Rugby World Cup 2031 that we're going to be hosting. Matt, what do you think of that goal?
I think it's a great goal. I think it's something that we have to shoot for. And what are you going to say? Oh, you know what? Let's shoot for 13th place in the world rankings for 2031 when we're hosting World Cup. No, you got to shoot for the moon, and that's what he's doing. And this weekend's game against Romania, you got to put that one away. Got to be goldfish. And now all that can be erased with a solid performance against Scotland. Nobody's expecting the USA to win. Nobody's expecting them to be within 20 points. Maybe they are. But if you're within 30 points of Scotland, that's a pretty good game. That's just me right now. With the state of American rugby right now, with the Eagles 15's senior men's program, if you're within 30, I think that's okay. Especially after the last time they were in Washington, D.C. against the All Blacks. And I blame you for that. Next.
They were actually in Maryland for that game, not Washington, D.C. But Matt, maybe, just maybe, they can harken back to those summer days back in Houston when the men's Eagles put a number on Scotland. Matt, any chance of that happening?
I don't think so. That was that Eagles team would beat this Eagles team, in my humble opinion. And they had known each other longer and played together longer. And Scotland's going to use that as locker room fodder on the bulletin board to make sure that every single Scottish player knows that they lost the last time they were here. So there's the difference. Next.
Hey, Matt, how about on an MLR Weekly show, we actually talk about MLR news? How about MLR Rising taking place this week? That's right, 50 different players from 34 different colleges will compete in pre-draft training camps and then a game this week. This is all ahead of the MLR Collegiate Draft coming up. Matt, what do you think of MLR Rising?
I like it. Anything and everything that can generate playing time, exposure, competing for spots is great. But I do think we need to tap more into the youth programs or high schools and elementary schools across this country. Giving rugby balls is not expensive, but somebody's got to start getting it in the curriculum often and all over, because that's where we'll make the change in this country. And I'm still fired up, so I apologize. Next.
Well, Matt, that's all I got. I just got to say the sunburn from your head really goes well with the white and blue of the jacket and T-shirt. You're looking great. Very festive this 4th
Red,
of
white,
July.
and blue. I'm glad you figured that out. On that note, I want to thank Mr. John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning. We'll be right back after this.
Digs like a demented mole there.
Need a great price on a new vehicle? Sheehy makes it easy. Easy Price shows you our lowest prices on the Mid-Atlantic's largest selection. Find your best price online or at any of our 31 dealerships.
It's easy at Sheehy. Sheehy.com.
You need your cleats? You need them tomorrow? If you order today by 3 p.m. New York time or noon LA time, they can have them to you tomorrow. Young, old, male, female, if you're playing on turf, if you're playing on grass, if you're playing in the rain, you're playing in the heat, they've got you covered. RugbyNow.com. Go there now. And we are back, sort of, because we're actually in D.C. through the magic of editing with head coach Cory Brown of the NOLA Gold just after his team lost a terrific, tense match to Old Glory.
You're going into the playoffs. You have a home playoff game. First time in NOLA history that you're in the playoffs, A, and B, and more importantly, you're playing at home at the Gold Mine. What's going through your head?
No, just really, I guess today's performance was pretty good. There's a few things we didn't quite nail around our game, but just really proud of the effort that the boys come up with. We suffered a wee bit of adversity during the week with a couple of injuries, and a few guys couldn't quite make it. And even out there today with, we're two guys with concussion just before half time, yellow card, and some guys got some opportunities. So just really proud of that effort. And we wanted to just focus on this game, and playoffs will happen when playoffs happen. But look, we're as a club, been really proud of everyone from the front office, the owners. Tim Falcon's done an amazing job over the 7 years, and we've got some new owners in. And for me, it was more about our supporters, getting them a home playoff. It really means a lot to them. They've been really loyal for a long time, and they're amazing supporters. And I just think the city deserves it.
And you mentioned some players that were missing. You're missing some real firepower in that back line specifically. But this was a really competitive match. It was a fun match to watch, and that's one thing. But you also talked about when the playoffs. We have a 2-week break before the playoffs happen. Well, how do you feel about that? And how do you manage that as a coach?
It's a bit of a shambles, to be honest. We should be just going straight into the games, but it is what it is. And it's above my pay grade, but it's got nothing to do with me. We've just got we've just our 8th game in a row, so our guys probably need the 2-week break. So, we've got 15 different nationalities in our team, so some guys will be heading back to New Zealand, and I've given them about 10 days off, so they'll come back in.
So they're going to go.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they need to go physically, but also mentally prepare and just get ready, and hopefully they're all peaking. It looks like, which is a real positive for us. It looks like we'll probably be able to put our best side out up in the first playoff game, which we haven't been able to do all year, so which is awesome.
Right, and still you guys roared down that second half in the stretch. You were a very dangerous team, and you were getting pieces back, but not everybody at the same time. So, if I'm the opposition, I got to beware of you guys.
Yeah, and I think, look, I hope so. And I know no one likes to come down to NOLA. In the middle of July, it's going to be pretty hot. It's going to be pretty humid.
Just a little bit hot, right?
Yeah, and it's not going to be nice. And our guys have been really smart in how we've been preparing throughout this back end of the season, the last 8 games. I think we've shown again today with the energy that we have at the end of the game, and that's from our just being smart with our preparation during the week. And the boys are in a good space. So, look, it's one game at a time, but hopefully we can earn another week.
Is there any truth to the rumor that Tim Falcon has mandated that he gets some playing time in your first playoff game?
He might be pushing his sons to get in there maybe, but you never know. No, he's a top man. I'm sure Tim would love to put the boots on, to be honest.
He still does.
Yeah, I know, which is awesome. And that's one of the reasons why I come to the club, to be honest. It was the only club in Major League Rugby that's from a men's club. It's a really family-orientated club, and for me, that's what my values are, being from this really, really small town in New Zealand. And
it's not named Flamingo, is it? Is that why we have the Flamingo here on the table?
That was a wee gift from, I'm not sure who I stole it off one of the players, I think.
And final thoughts before we let you go on the playoffs and what you've experienced in the MLR so far.
Look, I think it's an awesome competition. It's really close, and that's the thing that I've really enjoyed about it, is that any team can beat anyone, and you just got to make sure that you're on and you're mentally on for that day, and focusing on the performances. And like for me, it's all up in the air, and you've just got to compete well on the day and win the day. And if you're 2 or 3% off, then you're going to lose that game. And it's an awesome competition, really.
The tight margins.
It is 100%. And I think there's not one standout team that can win it this year, and it's going to come down to pretty much, I'd say, to the wire, and it's just getting to the final is going to be the hard part.
And what do you think of your opponent, Chicago?
Oh, they're a great side. I think they're one of the more attacking sides. They're a good side. I know they for some reason lost their coach, which is a bit strange in my opinion. He was doing a pretty good
late
job
in the season.
Yeah, that's right. And I think they still ended up, or the 3rd behind us. Like, they didn't get 5th. So, I'm not sure why they blame the coach for that, but that's just the way it is, I guess.
It's a tough business.
It is.
Well, it's been a pleasure for this part of the business for me, and I appreciate you taking the time and coming on.
No worries, and thank you guys, and all the best.
All right, safe travels, and we will be right back after this.
I wouldn't like to be at the bottom of that.
If you're in New York City and want to watch some great rugby, have some great food, and some great times, go to the world's best rugby pub, the Pig and Whistle on West 36th Street. Hey, U.S. fans, you can tune into every match live on Flow Rugby. How do we know that? Because we're on there all the time.
And we're back with Mr. Koi Nelligan of West Point, and now, of course, of Old Glory, D.C. Is it important to have some kind of America component in your school and your team, Koi?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you saw it out on the field. We got a really good group of Americans out there, but it's a lot of red-blooded Americans.
Americans,
Yeah, absolutely.
Americans. And you made the transition from flanker in college, West Point, to now you've beefed up and you're playing hooker, learning the hooker position, which is this arguably the most insane position in sports, ladies and gentlemen. He's learned it on the professional level, which is astounding. It's right up there with Caleb Geiger learning how to be a tight head prop on the pitch for New England. He did it with New York first, but it's insane. So how did you make that jump?
Well, I mean, it's all about the guys around you, really. I mean, you got Facundo Gatas in front of me, who's been
You watch your mouth.
Facundo fat ass, sorry.
Yeah, that's better.
So he's been to 2 World Cups, so learning behind him is great. And then also last year we had Nick Sushan, and then this year Martin Vaca. But then not just the hookers, but also the props. We've had just a multitude of experience throughout that whole front row. So having Jack, Quinton, Stevie coming in here last year, Kyle Stewart as well. Like, so many guys have just been helping me along the whole time. And I think the main thing is just being eager to learn, and that's helped me so much because those guys, they have a wealth of knowledge. It's just a matter of tapping into it. So they've been extremely helpful to me my entire time at DC.
All right.
Going on 2 years. Yeah.
That's all great. But the real reason you're on this show right now is because the jackass public address announcer completely misread your time in the game. And I had to face not only Paul Sheehy, the co-owner, breaking my chops about getting it wrong. Yeah, I was the PA because he was in for like 10 minutes before and then I said, and here's Koi Nelligan coming onto the pitch. I'm blaming you for your jersey being clean, number one. Number two, I met your father too, so I doubly guilty for this. So I apologize, but you made your presence known. You've been scoring tries too, important tries, I might add, with the team. But what's the most exciting part of the season for you?
Just being around the guys, honestly. I mean, it is incredible just being afforded this opportunity to play rugby right now, and basically all the guys I went to college with, other than Colin, obviously, is your
fellow
overseas.
West Point, Colin Gross.
Guys. They're all overseas. Actually, a couple of games ago, we had one of our old teammates, Rodrigo, and he had gotten back from Poland on Saturday and drove up on Thursday to come watch us play. So,
Jak si máš, mamka, to dobře?
No idea what that means, but it sounds cool.
Yeah, it's a little Polish.
Little
I throw
Polish,
it around.
Why not?
Polski pivo.
Yeah.
That's Polish beer. Do you have any aspirations of playing for USA Rugby's Eagles?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, I feel like, for every American who picks up a rugby ball or, hops into a scrum, is you want to be a USA Eagle. And two falls ago now, fall of 2022, Colin and I were down in Uruguay with the USA Falcons, and that's the closest I've come so far. Colin was in the Eagles camp last year before a really tough knee injury that sort of sidelined him for a while. Then he's coming really close, and we're hoping within the next couple months that he'll be there. But as far as for me, just got to keep my head down and keep on grinding, because it's only a matter of time.
Well, you know how to grind. You're a West Point grad,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that's an advantage that you have.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, I want to thank you for your future service and your commitment to this country, because it's astounding. People like you, I'm just like, I am not worthy, and I appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
All right, Koi Nelligan, we'll be right back.
This is the Rugby Odds, where an unlikely pundit panel of a wordsmith, a WWE legend, a rugby star, and a supermodel scour the globe, seeking best bets and bad behavior. Are you not entertained? And we are back with a disgruntled Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News, who lives in Canada, in case you missed that. Bryan, I don't know if you heard me ranting with John Fitzpatrick about the USA-Romania game, but I know that you can't be feeling too hot about Canada versus Scotland. Or can you?
What do you mean? 2 epic wins by North American teams over these wonderful... Oh, wait, that didn't happen, did it? No. Complete opposite. It was disastrous.
Any positives as a Canadian fan out of the match?
There was a decent home turnout in Ottawa, so thanks to the over 11,000 who showed up to give Rugby Canada some much-needed cash. Hopefully they got to keep some of that, at least.
How many seats are in that stadium?
That's a good question. I'd have to look a little bit more than 11,000.
So
but
was it full? Was it half?
It was probably about half full.
Okay.
Which is okay. Maybe
that's good.
Something like that. I thought Mason Flesch was outstanding in that one. He's been playing tremendous rugby all season for Chicago and carried that form into the game. We handed out some caps to some new guys, and that's pretty much about where it ends. I don't see how you can draw some positives from that kind of a showing. And I don't put it really on the players, to be fair. The players always give everything when they get the maple leaf on them. But come on, this coaching situation it's so depressing.
Isn't it time, though, that maybe we changed out the maple leaf for like a grizzly bear or something?
Would that inspire the guys?
I don't know. If I'm a Leaf, I get it, the Toronto Maple Leafs, I get the whole thing, but maybe for the rugby team, maybe, just maybe, we give it a little change, a change of branding. Maybe that gets a culture change going. Like, maybe the hockey pucks, something.
Yeah, I think we should probably just focus on the personnel running that program first, and then we can worry about the stuff.
What would that be in terms of your opinion, Bryan?
Man, anybody involved with that men's program except maybe Phil Mack could go. I guess Dave Butcher is involved there now, so maybe he could stay too. But come on, the Kingsley Jones has been in that spot since 2017, and what improvement has he shown? Can anybody explain that to me? Every time Rugby Canada puts out something on it, he's awarded caps to guys to get opportunities to get pro contracts.
COVID. What about COVID?
Listen, the guy, or it's the short prep time or everything. You're 7 years in or something, at some point, you're going to have a short runway. Your job is to figure out how to overcome that, what to do differently. We're in 2024 now, and it's the same thing. It's the same. Nothing has changed. It's gotten worse. Let's be honest about it. At
least you didn't lose to Romania at home in Chicago.
Well, they're coming to Ottawa this week.
I think Romania is. I'm sorry, but I think Romania is going to beat Canada.
I'd like to disagree.
Friendly wager?
No.
No?
I can't afford to lose anything.
Tim Hortons donut.
Donuts are expensive these days. It's over $1 here in Canada land.
All right, so you named Flesch. Any other MLR players that stood out this weekend in your eyes or had a good weekend?
No.
Some crushing losses?
Are we talking both matches now?
Yeah.
Okay, I might as well stretch it.
No.
I mean, did anybody really stand out for the Eagles? Some guys did okay, but is that what we're looking for?
No.
I don't really think so. No. It was a bad weekend for North American rugby. Let's just call it what it is.
Hey, the U.S. under-20s are doing okay, man.
Yes. That's something worth talking about. The USA is doing really well, and I hope to see some of those guys in MLR in the near future. Like next year, we need more guys of Seth Smith's age playing, and more 20-year-olds in MLR.
So they going to the anthem, or are they going to...
Go anywhere. Just get in there, get in that environment. It's going to make you better. Obviously, they when you game time, so anthem's maybe the best spot for that, but...
But they got to give up their college eligibility, Bryan.
Now that's a real, what do we call it, bugbear for me. I think that's absurd because that doesn't happen in Canada. You don't lose your eligibility. So that's up to you guys. To
Well,
sort that one out.
look at the state you're in. It's not helping you any, is it? Yeah. Okay. Well, anything else, Brian, before I let you explode?
I hope to see better results this couple week. Hey, the USA is going to be facing a much better, much stronger Scotland side, I'm sure. I just hope I hope this one's a lot more competitive than the one, even with the tougher opposition. I just think that, the Eagles would be really disappointed in that performance. They did not live up to anywhere close to their ability. So I'm sure that the talk this week will be actually representing themselves to their ability at least. So I hope to see that.
I hope that, we can excise the ghosts of FedEx Field with the All Blacks in DC this time around. But Scotland's using it as locker room fodder. I was talking about that with Fitzpatrick just earlier in the show. They lost the last time they were here, right? Scotland. They lost in Houston in 2018. There is no way in heck that they're going to not want to absolutely annihilate Team USA. And I think a successful match is keeping it to 30 points.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too upset
Right?
if they gave up 30 points against a strong Scotland lineup. I mean, it's not like, we were facing second, third string guys, but there is quite a few actually first string guys on this tour. So
Yeah.
I would imagine they're going to be suiting up in this one. So yeah, I'd be okay if they gave up 30 points to that level of the Scotland team.
Well, it's certainly worth tuning into or going to if you're in the vicinity. This is going to be a fun event, win or lose. I'm looking forward to it. But on that note, Brian, final thought.
If there's any TMOs taking part this weekend, just calm down a little bit. And if the referee says, can you check for the spot of a penalty goal and a TMO review, just say no.
We don't have that
That's it.
technology, sir. Or no, sir, that's your job. That would be great. I if I was the TMO, I'd say, no, it's your job, guy. How great would that be?
Oh,
And then then an argument ensues between the TMO and the referee on the field.
now that I would pay tickets to see that.
Yeah, that's all right. So we'll try to work it in. I'll make some calls. On that note, I want to thank Mr. Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News, Mr. John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning, Coach Cory Brown of the NOLA Gold, Koi Nelligan, the up-and-coming MLR stud at hooker. And thank you for tuning in. Please check out our other shows, including the critically acclaimed The Rugby Odds. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Sign up for our weekly newsletter. Tell your friends about us. And please join our American Red Cross blood donor team. Yeehaw!